So I just watched Christopher Nolan's first movie, The Following, which is a black and white $6,000 budget student film that at the time won a few film festival awards. Most people think about Memento when they think about Christopher Nolan's debut, but he actually did make this little film before that. I remember seeing the movie back in the day and being impressed by the ingeniousness of this film. However, having seen it again, I must say my memory has deceived me. Today, watching this movie again, the ending seems a bit unbelievable and the plot is simply too convoluted. That is not to say this movie wouldn't have its strong moments. Following tells the story of a guy who has got into the habit of following people. The basic premise is super interesting and the first half clues you into the movie like no other. After a while of following random people on the street and seeing where they go, the guy comes across an interesting person who notices he's being followed. Turns out this person is a robber, so they join forces and start breaking and entering into people's homes. Then the follower guy gets obsessed with one of the ladies whose apartment they broke into and gets into her life and they become lovers. After which the story, in my view, becomes super unrealistic. At the end of the day, the whole thing is revealed to be a plot set into motion by the lady and the robber guy. I'm not going to spoil you the end, but this is kind of like the premise for the end. Like, how could two people plan such a coup on some random guy on the streets? Too many coincidences would have to happen for this plot to work. I think at the end of the day, the writing is a bit lazy because of this. Now, mind you, this is a movie that lasts only 1 hour and 10 minutes, so it's not like there would be a lot of time to set these things up in a more feasible manner, but I'm just saying. That being said, I do think the movie has its brilliance, and I can see how it won awards and gained the attention of film freaks of the time. For a first movie that cost $6,000 to make, it stands out among other such films as something special. Most people watching this movie are probably waiting for some insane Christopher Nolan twists in the end, and yeah, there is one. But the thing is that I actually believe this to be the one Nolan movie where the power is in something completely different, and I'm not talking about character developments here either. Nolan movies are usually strong in either plot twists or plot structure, or in some cases in character developments. This movie stands out in Nolan's repertoire as a movie that gains its brilliance in the first act. Following is a true art house movie that harkens back to the old days of when filmmakers would just be shooting live and that would be all that was needed. The beginning is so intense and interesting. The idea that one would follow people on the street, I mean, think about it. That is such sociopathic behavior. The idea that after following people, one would come across a robber and join him, then break into people's homes to look at their lives and steal from them. Following is a perfect example of how it doesn't matter what the plot structure is or even what the character development is if the characters are doing things and being in situations that are interesting and intriguing enough. I mean, the ramifications of what these guys are doing and how it is all depicted is so intense. I'm not sure if I have ever come across another movie that would get to the heart of sociopathic behavior as well as this movie. There is no overt violence, no serial killers, no insane acts, only the mundane and these guys in it doing sociopathic stuff. But that's the thing about sociopathy. In reality, it happens before your very eyes. There is something much more daring in breaking into someone's house and when they get back home, just walking out right past them like nothing ever happens, than there would be in killing them. This movie touches something so deep about human nature that it is hard to even describe. I believe this movie to be as close to pure art and expression as Christopher Nolan has ever gotten. When you watch Nolan's movies, the character development sometimes impress you with their power. But in most cases, you are watching an engineer in work, meticulously crafting a plot structure or an interesting, highly thought out world with certain rules and principles. In Following, Nolan, in my view, simply expresses something and it hits deep. Now, okay, in the end you get plot twists and all the jazz one might expect from Nolan. But funnily enough, it is the worst jazz he has ever produced. I mean, the story is simply a bit silly and doesn't really hit you like his movies usually do. It is so funny how the guy who ended up becoming the director known for his resolutions and conclusions, and not for his artistic expression, would make such an art house movie. Actually think this movie is in certain ways ruined by the complex plot that takes place in the end. I think it would have been better if he would have just left it at the beginning as what it was. Nolan touched something deep here, and it is rare that a writer can do that. For this alone, I think this movie deserves the awards it got, and I can recommend it to any film freak wanting something fresh and original to watch. At the time when this movie came out, the plot twists in this movie felt like something new. People back in those days didn't really make such complex stories, but to the modern standards, this movie only irritates you. The world has changed, and in many ways it is because of guys like Nolan, who came out making these kind of movies. However, it is truly remarkable how powerful this movie manages to be in its first act, even to the modern eyes. It is no surprise it got such a fuzz back in those days in student film circles. It is a powerful entrance no matter how you look at it.